Hey guys, it's Ted Bogert. Welcome back to the Ted Show. It's Tuesday, so you know it's Gratitude Tuesday. Make sure you go out, say thank you to somebody that maybe needs to hear it or that you haven't said it to before. I'm super excited to have Dan Marquith on the show. We're going to talk about MAD, M-A-D-D, and how we can walk like MAD and a whole bunch of amazing things that MAD Central Florida does in our community. And so we're going to learn about Dan. Dan, welcome. How are you today?
I am wonderful. Thank you for having me, Ted. And
Super
by the way,
you.
since it is Gratifying Tuesday, thank you for all you do.
Well, wow. It's almost like I set that up. Y'all don't believe that. I did not set that up.
Don't forget the check.
Yeah, that's right. Check is in the mail for sure on that one. I'm super excited. I was telling you before we went live, I used to work. We launched the first SAD chapter at UCF. I'm very familiar with the MAD organization. But, you know, I feel like I haven't had anybody from MAD on the show. And if I have, it's been sort of in a secondary position. So I'm really excited to learn more and for you to kind of share with us what's going on with the walk. But before we do that, I told you that they love to know more about Dan. So share a little bit of 411 on Dan Marquith.
Well, so I grew up here in Florida. I'm first generation of my family born here. My mother's side of the family fled Cuba under Castro's regime. My father's side of the family, they are New Englanders and transplanted down here to Florida in the 1970s. So grew up here. I grew up in the southern end of the state and ended up coming up to Central Florida almost 20 years ago. I spent 20 years in law enforcement.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. My journey to MAD really started as a child. In 1987, my Uncle Jerry was a victim himself of a drunk driving crash and lost his life. Oh. So I say that, you know, I was a kid when he passed, and I didn't have a close relationship with him. So I never want to blur the lines, and I never want to minimize our victims that are dealing with this day in and day out. But what it did do for me is I saw the impacts that his death had on my family. My dad, who they were super close, they were like connected at the waist through school and everything. My grandmother made the decision to remove him from life support after several weeks. The crash happened over in Brevard County. He ended up spent 2 weeks in the hospital in Brevard and was transferred up to what we now know as Shands up in Gainesville, where he passed. And so I saw the impacts directly in my family. So when I grew up and had to, you know, spread my wings and get a real job, I wanted to be a law enforcement officer. And I'd always wanted to be a law enforcement officer. And so when I got into law enforcement, I really focused on DUI enforcement. And I spent my entire career pursuing drunk drivers and educated myself. I became one of just a few of deputy sheriffs that had a designation as a drug recognition expert, which our job was to go out and seek out people who were impaired under different types of drug, one of the 7 different drug categories that exists, and worked my way up through the ranks. I retired as a captain. I was able to get involved with MAD as a volunteer and served on the board here in MAD Central Florida for a number of years. And it just, the stars aligned. And when they say everything happens for a reason, it does. And our outgoing executive director here in Central Florida retired, and a wonderful woman by the name of Yolanda Larson, who spent many, many years here with MAD and did a lot of great things throughout the community. She retired, and I was able to step into the role and carry on what she had built along with her team.
It sounds like the journey took you exactly where you needed.
You know, if you ever have time, I'm a huge Steve Jobs fan. And there's a speech that he made, a commencement speech he made at Princeton University. And he says in there that you have to always look forward and have faith that the dots are going to connect. And it's so true to me. I mean, everything really does happen for a reason, and it all works out.
And look where you're at now. So believe it or not, there are some people, before we went live, I'm sure they Googled it since, but didn't know what MAD was. They sort of knew it had to do with drinking and driving. But a lot of them, you know, I grew up in an era where MAD came to be. And so the history, I understood it. I knew it. I understood, especially locally, the MAD history. So explain to them, what is MAD and what is the mission?
So MAD ultimately, you know, I always hear this because everybody always, when I do talk to people about MAD, one of the things I hear all the time is that they're still around. I remember them in high school, you know, and yeah, we are around, and we're really multifaceted. First and foremost, always is going to be service victims, and to make sure that our victims are at the forefront and what we can advocate for them, excuse me, and provide services in any which way possible. We always try to be very respectful of their privacy. We're there for them when they need us. If they already have an advocate, maybe through law enforcement, the state attorney's office, we'll support them no matter what. We are very blessed here in Central Florida. We have 2 incredible advocates that work on our team. A little special shout out to Pascal and Mary. And they really, they go through thick and thin with the victims that really want our services. All of this is done free of charge. We don't charge anything. We don't get in those weeds at all. But MAD does so much more than that too. I always tell people at the core of MAD's function, we support our victims. We support our law enforcement. We support our prosecutors. We support our social organizations throughout the community. So sorry, I'm fighting off a head cold.
No, you're good.
So it's always strange, especially, you know, we're in the midst of our Central Florida Walk Like Mad event right now, virtual. And we have such a great partnership with our law enforcement officers and our state attorney's office. Virtually almost every sheriff in Central Florida has gotten involved in our organization. Chief Roland with the city of Orlando is involved, the Coed Police Department, Apopka Police Department, UCF's Chief Carl Metzger has been involved. We've been in talks with the state attorney's office here in Orlando with the staff for Ms. Monique Worrell. And there's a lot of great things that are going to come from that partnership and collaboration that we're really focused on and trying to do great things. But beyond that, we get involved in legislative actions.
Very much so.
You know, we have I could tell you here in Central Florida, we have a great relationship with our state representatives and our state senators. And we talk on a regular basis. Anytime they're looking at any type of legislation that MAD may have say-so in or have input in, they openly reach out to us and want us to be involved in this. So it's more than just one gear in the machine. Our underage drinking initiatives. You know, back in April, we had something like 30 different cities that declared a day at the Power Talk 21 Day, which is our initiative to get parents to talk to their kids about underage drinking and drug use. And man, it was powerful. I mean, and for lack of a better phrase or term, but it's spread so far. And I can tell you, we've assembled a phenomenal advisory board, which we're moving forward with, and we've got some real influencers on there that really want to see MAD grow and our mission grow and our footprint here in Central Florida grow. And
MAD stands for
Mothers Against Drunk Driving. And I'm not a mother.
Believe it or not, a lot of people, but again, based on just some people making comments, they're like, what is MAD? And so I'm so glad that you're here, because I think it's an organization. Well, I know it's an organization that has really laid the foundation for the law changes, the attitude changes, the relationships with law enforcement and local entities that would help curb the issue and curb some of the problems. And then the underage drinking, it takes on such an important role. And I think people have forgotten how important it still is. To talk about the Walk Like Mad, give us some more information on that.
So Walk Like Mad is our signature event that really goes on throughout the country. We actually host 4 separate walks here in the Central Florida region, which spans from Volusia County across to Polk County down to Indian River County. So we have a pretty large geographic area of responsibility. And so what we're doing, this is the last of our virtual events. We're really super excited about that. And so we're going to get through this last virtual event, and then we're going to get to in person. What it is a fundraiser where it helps fund the operations and grow the operations here in Central Florida. Those dollars stay here. It's not like we take in fundraising from Central Florida and we're funding a program in North Dakota. No, those dollars come back to Central Florida, stay here in the community, and it allows us to provide those free services to victims. It allows us to print the material that we put out at the high schools. It allows us to print the materials that we put out our law enforcement training courses. Our recognition program, we recognize law enforcement officers, prosecutors, victims advocates. So we do that. And I'll also say, if anybody, right now nominations are open, July 30th through the 31st, Fort Lauderdale Beach, we're going to be recognizing the top law enforcement officers, prosecutors, victim advocates in the state that are involved in impaired driving. So go on our website. You can log in right there and submit your nomination. So this is really an opportunity for our corporate partners, our law enforcement partners, to come together and show that we are unified and we are in solidarity when it comes to this program, to this initiative. The reality is drunk driving, impaired driving, is a violent crime. You know, that's what a lot of people don't understand. If you're arrested for DUI, you may be charged with a misdemeanor, but really it's one of just a few misdemeanors that you can take someone's life, at which point it elevates to a felony. But up until then, you know, the numbers are astounding when you look at, you know, COVID. Everybody was locked inside. Everybody was, you know, no one was supposed to be out. But alcohol-related fatalities went up over 9% in this country.
I did not know that. Wow.
And it's unreal. You know, we just actually published put out a study that the Journal of American Medical Association did for us out of Texas. And it shows the impact of rideshare programs, this is what Matt has been saying for 40 years, right? Call a cab, get a designated driver, get it, send smoke signal for someone to come pick you up, whatever it took to get you to get from getting behind the wheel. And it shows an almost 40% decrease in vehicle crash traumas that are alcohol related from 2013 to 2018.
Wow.
That's amazing. And here's the most impressive part right now that Matt is focused on. We have some legislation at the federal level. In the Senate, it's titled under the Riot Act, which was sponsored by Senator Rick Scott. And then in the House, it's titled as the HALT Act. But we have the technology today to have passive drunk driving prevention technology manufactured in our automobiles. And it's amazing. The way technology goes today, your car has the ability to sense that you are not safe to drive.
Yeah.
And it's amazing that it's taken this long, but we're well on our way. And
are you getting any, I have a question about that. Are
Shoot.
you getting any pushback on that? What would be the downside that somebody could focus on if the car itself would not allow you to drive it, which is what you're saying? Basically, what is the downside to that? What are the opponents saying? I'm curious.
Well, you know, honestly, I see no downsides, you know, because I've seen it firsthand in my family. I've seen it over a 20-year law enforcement career. I'm telling you, when you think about over 10,000 times in this nation a year, a trooper, a deputy sheriff, or police officer has to go knock on a door and tell a family that their loved one isn't coming home. And these could be completely innocent people. You wouldn't believe the amount of people that are minding their own business, driving home from work, going here, going there, going to the grocery store, wherever, and they're thrown into this by no decision-making of their own. You know, and I always tell people, we would never tell you, like, this is the United States of America. It's okay. You're allowed to drink if you do this, if it's legal. You're allowed to take your medication as it's prescribed, as long as we do it when it's legal. What you're not allowed to do is to make the decision to put everyone else's life in your hands when you're not in any type of position to be able to do that, and get behind the wheel and make that decision to take someone's life. And, you know, it's scary when you look at, on average, a DUI offender has driven 88 times before they're ever stopped by law enforcement.
Oh, jeez.
And even when they're stopped, there's only 1 in 3 chance that they'll be arrested for DUI. Wow. It's astounding what we do.
I'm ready for that technology, Dan.
Yeah, absolutely. So when these naysayers come out and they say that they don't want to see this, and everybody has their reasoning, everybody, you know, I get it. And people are all passionate about what they believe in. And I encourage that. And I'm a firm believer the debate is what brings solutions. But at the end of the day, I would challenge those folks to go look in the eyes of some of these families, go look in the eyes of these children and these moms and dads and brothers and sisters and friends and fiancés and husbands and wives that will never see their loved one again because someone else made that decision.
That's right.
For them. And it's a tragedy to the fullest meaning of that word.
So we have a bunch of people who are asking, as we wrap up, asking what can they do? How can they get involved? I mean, I remember I was involved. We talked about this before we went live with SAD and at the university level, and it certainly is going on earlier. I know high schools have SAD chapters as well. What can somebody who's listening here do to get involved and best support not only the walk, but just MAD in general? What's the best way for them to reach out?
Well, I would, there's a couple different options. Always, please go to our MAD Central Florida Facebook page, like it, share it, get as many people involved in there, get involved. We'd love to be interactive with folks on there. They could also visit our website, www.mad.org/Central Florida. I know it's a mouthful. Specific to the walk, go to www.walklikemad.org/Central Florida, and you can donate, you can register. There's still time. Our main event will take place on Saturday morning from 9 a.m. to noon, and just be a part of this movement that we see. I've been getting phone calls every day from folks that are like, "Man, this is really turning into something here," and I truly believe MAD has the potential as a national brand to really put Central Florida on the map. We can leverage this iconic area. Everybody knows Orlando. Everybody knows Disney World, Universal, SeaWorld. But we launch rockets from Central Florida. We innovate, we create, we do amazing things right here in Central Florida. Let's all bring it together and do some good.
That energy and that passion are palpable, my friend. I want y'all to get involved. You asked me a whole bunch of stuff before we went live about getting involved and what's the walk about. So you can go to mad.org/Central Florida or walklikemad.org/Central Florida. Look it up yourself. Get involved. Reach out to Dan. I say this all the time. These guests, these people coming out and sharing their passions, they're just as kind and passionate when you talk to them in person. And you definitely want to reach out because I know a lot of you have been impacted. The amount of lives that organizations and initiatives that MAD has supported over the years that have saved lives. It's just astronomical, and we need this kind of attention to continue to be paid to it. What a shocking stat that it went up during COVID. That surprises me because pretty much every other social type thing was quiet and then went up, but it went up during it, and that's a big deal. That says something.
Absolutely.
All right, my friend. Thank you. Go out and support. Reach out to Dan. Dan Marquith, thank you so much.
Thank you, Ted.
So thank you for
having me.
Come back anytime you want to focus on an initiative, something you guys have coming up, because I think we need to continue to get this message out to as many people as possible. Go to mad.org/Central Florida or walklikemad.org/Central Florida. Thanks, buddy. We'll see you guys soon.